I'll do everyone. Yes, it is the end of year list for 2024. So I know a lot of people don't like these videos, and you think, you arrogant twat for doing a video about your own albums you think are the best albums of the year or anything like that. And I get that, because you get some people that really do pour it on. But this whole video for me is purely to kind of just tell you albums I've been listening to this year, and you can check them out if you want to and enjoy them yourselves, because I have listened to a ton of music this year. And these 20 albums, I think it's more of a shout out to the bands as a thank you for making my year bearable musically, because a lot of albums kind of go over your head. You listen to them once or twice, you rack them if you're a mass collector. But for me, these 20 albums have been ones I've listened to generally loads, and I've kind of numbered them as what I've listened to the most, not as in what's better, what's worse, nothing like that, because they're all great. More what I've just spun more, or streamed more, that kind of thing. So this is being filmed on Boxing Day. The City got a win today for fucking first time in ages, it feels like. And yeah, I'm in a good mood, so let's do a video. On the old Jack and Coke as well. I've had a fair few today. So anyway, right. Number 20 is a American black metal band with Japanese pop, kind of K-pop, whatever you want to call it, kind of influences in there. But it's got nothing to do with pop music, it's just how catchy it is. So this is the band Saidan with their latest album Visual Kill, The Blossoming of Psychotic Depravity. Now, the format I have it in is a bit naff visually. You can get it on vinyl, but the actual album artwork looks like that. I mean, I love this release, don't get me wrong, cassette-wise, but to show it off, it's kind of like, oh, okay. It's not really much to show you information-wise. So this is a black metal duo out of the US. That kind of horror-themed black metal, which is really aggressive. Drumming is mental. Really, really technical. Blasty is great. Vocals are spot on. The guitar tone is spot on. But the way it's stupidly catchy, and someone pointed out to me, it kind of uses kind of J-pop kind of references and themes, or K-pop. I can't remember which one. I want to say the first one, but it's stupidly hooking, very catchy. And these guys, their last album I absolutely loved, and I wanted it for years, and they just picked it up this year that I found on eBay. I can't remember even what it's called, but it has a kind of Ghost in the Shell kind of cover. And yeah, I digress. This is magnificent. Go check it out if you like your black metal, but also if you're a kind of fan of really catchy melodic music that has a lot of kind of hooky kind of choruses, but they're not choruses, they're guitarists that sound like choruses. This is really what that is. So go give it a go. It's fucking awesome. Number 19 is some Costa Rican death doom that I've heard no one talk about this year, and I fucking love it, and you should love it too. So this is a band called Perishing, with the EP, I believe this is called Lutum, out through Morpher Chapel Records. This is superb. So this is kind of cosmic, horrible, eerie death doom, featuring members from bands like Astroferus and Engraved, if you know those Costa Rican bands. I don't know how big Costa Rica is, but they seem to share a lot of members who also do death doom. This is no different. This is fucking brutally heavy, underground, it's horrible, it's eerie, and I've listened to this loads this year. This came out back in January, I think it was. Yeah, January, and it's stuck with me all year. Really heavy. It's been streamed loads. Go give it a Razzie if you haven't. It's fucking brilliant. Excuse me, I'm still getting over a cough, so I won't try and die on camera. Right, number 18. This band I've been aware of for quite a while. Liked their last album. More of a kind of mellow, chill out kind of doomy death band, as it were. And this is the Finnish band Counting Hours, with the release The Wishing Tomb, put out through Ardua Records. This came out, I can never remember when this came out, February, yeah. So when this came out, I was kind of checked it out because I liked the cover, I knew the band. They always were a bit soft for me in their previous release. I liked it, but it was a bit too soft. Whereas this one, yes, it is very mellow. I mean, the first track as well, it takes a little while to kind of get it going. It's got a lot of clean, kind of melodic guitar work. But when it does click, and it did click for me, it just really helped me and really chilled me out. And when I wanted something that wasn't so aggressive and a little bit different from what I was normally listening to, these were a go-to band for me. So it's kind of got the death metal vocals in there, but there's a lot of clean singing, and really good clean singing. You would never know they're finished the way he sounds. And the guitar work is in the vein of like modern Catatonia, but these guys are finished. Obviously the comparison to Swallow the Sun is also there. But a brilliant album. Listened to this quite a lot, and yeah, just really enjoyed it. And after a while, you know, just kind of clicked, and then I found myself putting it on this video because I listened to it that much. So yeah, Counting Hours is my number 18. It does feature people from Rapture and Shape of Despair, if you know those bands, which are brilliant bands, especially Rapture. I love that band. So number 17 is a band from the Faroe Islands. This is a band that you probably have heard of, quite big now. This was put out through Metal Blade. This is Hamferd with the album that's called That Down There. I can never pronounce it. So this came out in March, and it's some epically heavy doomy death metal, but there's a lot more going on than that. These guys, I believe they sing in Danish, because the Faroe Islands is part of the Danish kingdom by memory, but it's nearer to Iceland. I don't really know. But these guys have their own style. I don't even know if they have their own language in the Faroe Islands. I don't really know. But what these guys do is they just make really brutally heavy doomy death metal, and I've always liked them. I've got their previous release back there as well. And it's just, they're just so grand in their music. Like, everything is epically grand. Like, the guitar tones are fucking stupidly scooped, really distorted. His vocals go from really gloriously clean highs to brutally guttural lows, like in that kind of Nordic style. And then you've got like these eerie passages that build atmosphere. And the last track on this one is just an old dude recounting a tale of a fishing trip gone wrong, catching whales, or hunting whales, should we say. But I've got no idea what he's saying. I only know that because I read it up somewhere online that it's what he's talking about. But it's just, yeah, brilliant, really good, and I just enjoyed it loads. And it's just another one I've revisited now and again throughout the year, mainly on my Spotify when I'm working. I've got long drives. I kind of choose these albums because I know I'm going to enjoy them. And yeah, when I've sat in here, I've spun this a few times as well this year. But yeah, Hamford, wicked band. Right, number 16, no nonsense, I'm going to crush your skull, doomy death metal. From the US, and that is, I can never pronounce it, Tzompantli or something like that, with the release Beating the Drums of Ancestral Force. This is put out through 20 Buck Spin, and this is the second or third full length. I think it's the second full length from Brian Ortis, and this project of his, he's in quite a few projects. So Brian, or Big O, he also calls himself as, is a fucking monster behind the guitar. And I've got his EP back up there on cassette, and since then I've loved his music. So he always reminds me of a heavier version of Kirk Winston, not just maybe in weight, but also in guitar riffs. Like, he writes brutally heavy but simple guitar riffs, but there's also a lot of groove to them, a lot of atmosphere, and he always has a spot on guitar tone that just kind of fits the style of this band perfectly. And it's just literally like, if you imagine being dragged up a temple to be sacrificed to the gods, he would write a riff of you being marched up by your ankles, up the steps, getting dragged up there, and it just fits it perfectly. And I'm guessing what this whole album is about, stuff like that. Got no idea what the song titles even mean, but he's got a full band behind him in this as well. It's not just him writing all the music, there's people contributing to guitar solos, there's vocals thrown in there from other people. It's just really cool and really heavy. So yeah, loving that. That's my number 16. Number 15, I can't count, is another US doomy death metal band, but this one has been around since the 90s, but then stopped and then reformed again not too long ago. I think it was 2012 they reformed, and this is only their second full length since they reformed. And this is the band Avernus with Grievances, put out through M Theory Audio. Now this came out, I can't remember when this came out. I swear I want to say September or October, round about that period, maybe even earlier than that. But someone recommended it to me, Wendy, my mate Wendy, and I checked it out. And yeah, this is fucking brilliant. Like, if you like US doomy death metal, especially like the old school 90s approach to it, where it's just chunky, epic, horrible, but also because they got older and they're just grumpy old men now, I guess it's just got a lot more misery to it in the riffs. Like, some of the harmonies are so mournful, but also rememberable and catchy, and you're humming them. There's instrumental pieces. I swear there's some female vocals on this by memory. I can't now remember now I'm thinking about it, but guitar wise it's just so, there's some riffs in here that even though they're simple and they repeat themselves, they get stuck in your head. And I've loved every moment of it, and the album cover as well, I think it's wicked. So if you haven't checked this out, again, strongly recommend it. Another band I've not seen anyone else talk about since its release, which is a shame because it's fucking brilliant. So yeah, Avernus with Grievances, loving that. Number 14, make sure they don't fall over. So number 14 is some brutally catchy US death metal that I've listened to a lot when I've been gymming it, or just a quick fix when I'm in the car, or even in here if I want to just kind of spam a load of cassettes. I've chucked this on a lot. This is Laceration with Ire Road, put out through $20 spin. Now, my only thing I could say that would kind of get people to check this out pretty quickly is, if you like the band Skeletal Remains, they have a lot in common with them. They're not copying them, but they are similar, and I like Skeletal Remains, so that's why when I listened to this, it kind of clicked for me straight away. I was like, yeah, I'm fucking loving that. But on its own, when you listen to this, I've listened to this loads, hence why it's in this video, because it's just got some brilliant riffs. Like, I think it's the B side of this cassette, the first track. It's got a riff that kind of goes dun, 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 like Deicide style, but it's just fucking heavy, really heavy. And the solos are really, really good. And as a guitar player, I envy the guy who can do the stuff he does on here, because it's fucking brilliant. Got that loads of reverb and delay in, it's super widdly, but it fits the music perfectly. Vocals are awesome, drumming spot on. It's just fucking good death metal. So if you haven't checked it out, go check out Laceration, Ire Road. You will not be disappointed. That is a brilliant release. Right, number 13, another one that was recommended to me by a friend on social media, and again I've heard no one else talk about this, and I love this album, if it is an album. I've read somewhere it's an EP, but I don't know why it's an EP, because it seems a bit too long to be an EP. So this is the band Moon Incarnate with Hymns to the Moon. This was put out through Iron Bonehead Records back in March. So this is some doomy death metal from Germany, and in the vein of the very early 90s, like Peaceful Free doomy death metal, but also with some European influences in there as well. So these guys remind me a lot of very early My Dying Bride, Anathema's earlier work, and some of the Dutch kind of death doom bands from the 90s. They've got that kind of feel to them, and it's just fucking good music. And this is one I've listened to a lot. But it's not anything different or outstandingly musically that would separate them from, say, other doomy death bands. But I will say on this one, it's got that kind of 90s vibe to it, and that's what I really like about it. Because 90s music's just better, isn't it? Let's be honest. Not pop music, that was shit. But metal music, as in like early 90s, is fantastic. Especially as a person that was born at the start of the 90s in '89. As an older person, I can appreciate it even more now. I mean, the weird thing I think is just, I have to show this off, I've never seen anything like that with a sleeve jacket having some print on it. That was nice to see. But yeah, it's fucking good music. So if you haven't checked it out, go check it out. It's catchy, it's chunky, it's epic, it's got growls, it's got clean vocals, it's got everything you want. Perfect. Moon Incarnate, go give it a go. Right, number 12 is a band from Finland that also are in the band Autumn Fall, that also put out an album this year, which I didn't grab annoyingly. But I find it strange that two death doom bands will put out an album this year with the same members in it. But this is the Bleak Picture with Meaningless, put out through Ardua Records. So this is doom death, like I said, but this has some sludgy elements to it, some kind of post-metal elements to it, which kind of really separates it from other releases I've listened to this year. And this is one I've gone back to a lot, and this just climbed and climbed and climbed in my listens for me. And if I guess we had a few more months left of the year, I imagine this would probably be a little bit higher, because I'm still listening to this quite a bit. So this is a album that kind of has clean vocals, it has guttural vocals, but the clean vocals sound nothing like any other band. It's Finnish, so it's got that, it sounds Finnish as well, like when they do the growly death metal stuff, it really does sound like a Finnish death metal band. But then with the doomy side of it, they use some like different effects on the guitars, so it gives it a different flavour. and the songs are structured a little bit differently from your usual kind of chorus, 4 beat, 4 riffs, you know, that kind of thing. And I've loved every moment in this album. I've really enjoyed it. It's made my brain kind of go, oh, okay, I've not heard something like that today. So I really, really enjoyed that. And I love a bit of variety in my music. So yeah, a Bleak Picture. The Bleak Picture even. Meaningless. Go give that a listen. That's a brilliant album. Right, number 11. We're nearly in the top 10. So this is an album that I love a lot, and it gives me some really happy memories, because this year I got to take my oldest son to his first heavy metal show, and then he went and come see me play live as well this year, which he's never done before, so that was special. But the start of this year, I can't remember what it was this year, that we went and saw this band tour this album. That is Judas Priest, The Invincible Shield, put out through Sony Music. Everyone knows who Judas Priest is. I don't really need to tell you anything about this band. I mean, fuck knows how many albums I've done now, but this one, really catchy, really heavy. I mean, Panic Attack, everyone knows that song once it was released. It sounds like Painkiller a little bit. Rob Halford's still belting out the tunes, but my favourite track on here for me is Devil in Disguise. That's got a really, really catchy riff that doesn't really sound like a Judas Priest riff. To me, it sounds like it was written by Richie Faulkner, and not Glenn Tipton. It wouldn't be KK, would it? So yeah, I really, really like that song, and it just sets the album for me. But there's loads of great songs on here. Like, it's just epic as well. And like with Iron Maiden, they kind of slowed down loads, and they've made it like a prog band almost with the newer music. Because Judas Priest got some younger dudes in it, it's got a bit more energy to it. It's more precise. They're not fucking about with the formula. They're just doing what they know. And even live, you know, they're still killing it as well. So yeah, that had to be in the list. I've listened to that loads. Right, top 10. Exciting, right? Not really. So this is some Austrian De Doom, a band I discovered just after they released their debut, and easily would have been in my list for that year if I had discovered that album, but I didn't listen to it in January. So when they announced they were doing this album this year, I was on it. As soon as I found out it was actually on a label I could obtain it from when I happened to pay absurd shipping costs, I was all over it. So Endonomos with Enlightenment. This was put out through Argonauta Records, which I think is Italian. I don't know, but I was able to actually get this from my own country here in England through the mighty eBay. So I'm well happy about that, because I love this band, but not their fault. Postage from Austria is absurdly expensive. But this band is a doom death band in the vein of your kind of like Hooded Menace. You could say they have that like vibe to it, but they got the clean singing, and there's epic vocals as well. You have some epic kind of doom moments in it, which kind of gives it a different flavour. And the band are just fucking brilliant. They're really heavy. They haven't changed much from the previous album, and I love that album. So I would say the debut is still stronger than this one, but this has been, like I said, this is my top 10 for a reason. It's just been, I've listened to this loads since I got it. Came out in September, and yes, you could argue that's not really a year's worth of music there, is it, in September? You've only got a handful of months left. I already knew when this was announced and the singles were put out that I was going to love this album, because it sounds identical to the previous one. It's a little bit different, but not much. And yeah, I've listened to it loads, and I love the artwork as well. So yeah, Endonomos, Enlightenment, fucking brilliant album. Number 9 is some black and death metal from France. This is Necrowretch with Swords of Dagil or something like that, put out through Season of Mist's underground label. Now, again, this came out like February time, and I got this for my birthday and I asked for it. And the reason I wanted it is purely because of the cover. I thought the cover looked fantastic. But musically, this has been listened to loads by me. Like, it surprised me how much I enjoyed this. Now, this is number 9, isn't it? And yeah, this could easily climb more and more and more if other albums hadn't been released by bands I'm going to show you. It's wickedly aggressive. It kind of has a necrophobic vibe to them. And they did put out a brilliant album this year, but it didn't really stick with me. It was great, and I enjoy it, and I listen to it, I love it. But no song stands out to me and sticks in my head. Whereas on this, there's a few of the songs that have kind of gone into the Spotify playlists I've created this year. When I'm working out and about, and I've listened to this loads, like loads. So it's really aggressive. It's got this kind of bark, shriek, kind of growly vocals. But it's just the way the songs are structured in the atmosphere. It really just clicks, and you just listen to it and you think, yeah, I'm alright with that. And you can jump into certain tracks on this and just be happy with that. You don't have to sit through the whole album. You can just pinch tracks from this and they do the job. So yeah, Necrowretch is my number 9. That was a fucking good album. Number 8, again, is another surprise. Because when I got this originally, I wasn't that fussed by it. Like, I enjoyed it, but it would have been one of those ones you bought because everyone else told you to buy it on social media kind of vibe, and then you kind of then put it on the shelf. But this one I actually pulled off the shelf quite a lot and streamed quite a lot. So this is Mortal Wound with The Anus of the World, put out through Misaka Unho Records back in May. Now this is some Vietnam themed death metal from the US, is that right? Yes, I think it is. And at first when I heard it I wasn't that fussed, but this album has grown on me a lot, and that is why it's climbed into the top 10 of what I've listened to this year. Just because songs like A Drug-Filled Cadaver, it's like early Cannibal Corpse worship, but it's really heavy, really epic, and how it just builds as chunky, as old school death metal vibes to it. And then there's other tracks on there that do the same thing. One That Kills the One That Loves, Engulfed in Liquid Hellfire. I mean, the titles are hilarious. They're all Vietnam War themes and stuff like that. And there's sound bites from other films and stuff like that as well. But I mean, the song alone, A Drug-Filled Cadaver, I hate to think how many streams that's got on my Spotify, because I've listened to that song a lot. Like Found Dead in a Bush, Tunnel Rat, it's great, and I listen to it more and more. I appreciate there's a lot more than I did when I got it. And it goes to show, when you listen to an album, even though you don't think you're going to like it, come the 12 months later you change your opinion completely. And yeah, I listen to this so much. It's probably my most listened to death metal album of the year if you're going strictly death metal. So yeah, Mortal Wound, fucking quality, that is. What are we on now? Number 7 is a split. A really good split, hence why it's number 7. And that is the split between Jade and Sanctuarium. This is called The Sepamental Wound, put out through Pulverized Records back in September. Now again, you could argue September, there aren't many months left of the year to kind of stick it in a list maybe. But the reason this is so high is because it's from 2 bands I really enjoy. Like Jade, John, who sent me this actually from the band, they've changed their music so much since their last release, which came out I think in 2021-22. They've gone darker, they've gone heavier, it's more epic, in its approach with the atmosphere, and it's just ultra moody and dark, and I really like that, because the first album, or the previous album, didn't really have that kind of atmosphere. It was heavy, it was doomy, fast, brutal, but this has more of a dark kind of hidden in the shadows kind of vibe to it, which is great. And then Sanctuarium, even though they've put out a full length this year that I haven't actually checked out yet, the music on here is raw, brutal, underground death metal with a kind of doomy approach to it. I mean, I know Sanctuarium is basically made up of members from Troll Cave, and even the black metal band, but it's just fucking good, like really good. And I was so surprised by how strong this split was. It had to be in this list because I've listened to this so much. So if you haven't checked it out, go check that out. As a split alone, brilliant. Right, number 6, we're nearly there, and I'll leave you alone for the rest of the year. You'll be happy to know, won't you? So some Australian blackened pagan folk metal, but not metal as well. This is Suldusk with Emphasis, put out through Napalm Records back in March. So this is a one-woman project by Emily Highfield, but I think it's a full band now, since either this year or last year. So Emily I've known about a while now musically, because on social media she had a page and I followed it with this band ages ago, and she kind of did this pagan kind of black metal vibes and stuff like that. And then on this album, this is their second full-length release, it's a lot more varied. This is more harsher, so it's got some really epic black metal tracks in there with the drums going fucking 100 miles an hour, her shrieking on it with some tremolo pick guitars, stuff like that. But then you got songs like, this is my favourite song off the whole album, Mythical Creatures, which is a complete contrast to everything else I've just told you. That is a really mellow, well sung song. It's just, she's got gorgeous vocals and it just chills me right out. Like, if I'm in a foul mood, I can put that on and it calms me down. It's just nice, it's chilled, it's not heavy even a little bit. And there's a few songs like that, but then there's also a few songs that kind of cross between epically heavy and beautifully sung, like really mellow. So there's a lot of variation, and I know the cover reminds me of Marilyn Manson, as it probably does you guys as well. I don't think that's her, it could be though, I might be wrong. But yeah, it's just fucking good, like really, really good. So if you haven't checked it out, go check it out. If you're like fans of like Mick here, or whatever she's called, very much in that ballpark. Right, number 5. Now this is a band I've seen no one ever talk about when I've been doing the whole YouTube thing and other people and watching their videos or what they recommend. So this is an Israeli band which I know isn't really popular at the moment on the news and with other people, but this band I've listened to for a fair while. I believe they started out in the 90s and I discovered them, I think it was 2019 they put an album out, and they have a lot of guest vocals, guest musicians on their albums. So the last album had Aaron from My Dying Bride, Gregor from Paradise Lost, the chap from Swallow the Sun on vocals. There's a few others, you know, real well-known people. So the band in question is Tomorrow's Rain with Ovdam, and this was put out through AOP Records out of Germany, it looks like. So this second full-length album from them is doomy death metal, but it's so much more than that. So the guest musicians on this one has Attila from Mayhem, the vocalist from Dark Funeral, the vocalist from Unanimated, if you remember that band, really good band, right? And then Michael Denner from Merciful Fate doing some stuff as well. And it blows my mind because when you listen to it, you don't actually hear them unless you specifically look out for the tracks and then you specifically wait to hear what could be them. They blend it brilliantly. It's not like those albums where you have a guest music spot and you know instantly who it is because it's just completely different from the song they've actually guested on. With this album, they've blended all the musicians into the songs perfectly that you wouldn't really know they're even there. And only when you read up about it, you then go, oh shit, wow, cool. You know, and then you listen to the song again and you can pick out what they're doing and stuff like that. And it's just such a great album, really much a journey album where from start to finish it takes you on this journey. It's got like this jazz element to it where you feel like you're in a cafe with loads of fag smoke in the air because it's got saxophones in it, stuff like that. It is a metal album, but it's more than that. Very progressive in its style and approach. There's some female vocals with some really abstract moments where you think, oh okay, different, but it's one of those ones I can put on the background here and just mellow out and enjoy it. It's heavy, it's chunky, but it's also beautifully clean, dreary, melodic. You know, it has everything, literally everything you want. So yeah, what did I say that was, number 5? Yeah, Tomorrow's Rain, really good album. Right, number 4 is some epic doom from the US. This is Crypt Sermon with their third album, The Stygian Rose, put out through Dark Descent Records back in June. Now, I jumped on this band on their first album technically. I remember listening to that and really enjoying it. Very much in the early worship of epic doom. Vocals were okay, but they weren't great. And they put their second album out a few years later, and that was very much a step up in the vocal style, and I really, really enjoyed that one. When I started collecting again back in 2019, that was one of the albums that was on my hit list, and I never grabbed it, and to this day I regret it because it's stupidly expensive wherever you look for it. But again, a band that I've really, really enjoyed, and when they announced the third album for this year, I jumped on it straight away. I wasn't going to miss out this time. And this is way more accessible than the last release, because I remember listening to the second album and being challenged a little bit by it, and it took me a little while to get into it, whereas this one, it was an instant yes. Like really simple, really catchy. Every single song is great. I mean, my favourites are Heavy as the Crown of Bone, Down in the Hollow, but then like the Scrying Orb has a really annoyingly catchy chorus, and yeah, it's just really, really epic. You know, epic doom. I love epic doom, as you probably know if you watch my YouTube videos. So yeah, number 4, Crypt Sermon, the Stygian Rose. Right, number 3. Now, number 3 and number 1 haven't really technically been out that long this year, and you could argue, if you really want to argue with me, they shouldn't really be in your year-end list because they came out at the end of October. But what I will say is they have been streamed a bazillion times or spun a bazillion times, and they're albums that I already knew when they were going to be announced that were going to be on my list unless I thought they were shit. And this is nowhere near shit at any level. This could easily be number 1 really. And that is the latest from Mother of Graves with the Pethriat of Absence. This is put out through Profound Law at the end of October, the 18th of October this came out. Now this is a US doom death band that kind of play on the style of early Catatonia, and when they did their EP fucking yonks ago, I was instantly a fan of this band, and it was one of those ones I always meant to jump on. Then they put out an album a few years ago that was brilliant, and then they announced this one. I was all over it. I mean, the artwork is gorgeous. I really love the artwork, fits the music perfectly, and this band are brilliant. They've really stepped it up on this release. The vocals are superb, like Dan Swano-esque kind of growls, so gutturally heavy, and the reverb and the delays on it really gives it kind of this epicness to it. And in the riffs on it, you got some really complicated like harmonies and stuff like that that kind of make you just sit there and listen to it and enjoy it. There's no simple doom riffs or anything like that on this album. It's very much complicated melodies that fit this atmosphere. It's epic, it's beautifully heavy, and I fucking love this band. And I already knew when this came out I was going to enjoy it after listening to the singles, but as an album a whole, it's just perfect. Like, really is perfect. So yeah, number 3, Mother of Graves. No surprise for people that like my kind of music to see that on this list. Right, number 2. This might surprise a few people, but it's really not shocking. This year is probably the first time ever I've done a video like this where the music is purely in the Death Doom kind of vein, which is unusual because normally people are expecting me to pull out some fucking abstract album. Can't do it this year, so you'll be disappointed, I guess. But number 2 is Void Witch with the album, I can never pronounce it, Horror Plating Presence, put out for Everlasting Spew Records. This came out in July and is a Texas Death Doom band. Their only previous effort is like a demo with like a weird looking crudely drawn Pope on it, which was good, but this is totally a massive step up in style. So this is very much in the vein, if you like bands like Hooded Menace, a really brooding doomy death metal where it's slow but it's got some wicked like dual guitar work on it, and that is the main reason this has gone up on my list so much. And I've listened to this a boatload just because how it appeals to me as a guitar player and how I approach riff writing and how I want to listen to doomy death metal. I want those dual harmonies on the guitars, and then we do that a lot in Consecration where you focus on the epicness of the riff, and that is what this is all about. It's just all about the riffs on this, like Supernova of Brain and Bone, Malevolent Demerge, Horror Plating Present, the title track. They're all fucking guitar driven songs, you know, there's no standout vocals. It's got some brilliant guttural vocals, but they just kind of sit in the background of the guitars and they just kind of carry the album over, and I fucking love this. There's only 6 tracks, but I think it's over 35 minutes by memory, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I know a lot of people will be like, what on earth have you put that as your number 2? That's not worthy of number 2. But it, like I said, this is all down to what I've listened to the most. This album is not about how much the production is, the release of it, the band name. I couldn't give a shit if it's a big band or not. This is all about what I've streamed and what I've spun in here the most. And this is honestly, numbers on this are hideous. It's only the number 1 that's only beat it just purely because of its style and the band. So yeah, really impressed with this Void Witch, Horror Latent Presence. is number 2. Right, number 1. Now, this is very much a Marmite album, and everyone I've spoke to about this, they've all said the same thing, as they don't like the vocals. And I get it, but the reason I actually like it is because of the vocals. The vocals are what make it different. This is a band I revisit every single year with their discography. This time of year, when it gets darker and colder, through till spring next year, is a band I stream loads. And I pull out CDs, I pull out records of theirs all the time. So my number 1 pick is Funeral with Gospel of Bones. This is put out through Season of Mist at the end of October, 18th of October. Now, again, you'll say, how can you put that in at October? But Funeral is a band that I revisit every single year, like I said, and they're a band I religiously listen to. When it comes to doomy death metal, they are my go-to band when I want something different. And when I do my long drives to work for certain sites I have to visit, this is the perfect band, because every album is long, every album is different, every album it has a load of variety in the riffs. And again, this one, they've gone with a male operatic vocalist, and it's totally different from their previous release. Their previous release was sung in Norwegian and had epic growls and clean sung vocals, whereas this has female vocals in it with a bit of operatic style. But the main guy on it, Eric Crockfjord, he really does bring a variety of different styles to this band. They are very much musically, not much has changed. They've got incredibly quality guitar tone, like the crushing sound of it. The bass drum on this, it's got this massive thud with just the right amount of echo and delay on it to kind of give it that kind of, like you're in a massive fucking church kind of sound. And it's just epically heavy. I know it's a Marmite album for a lot of people because of the vocal style, and I get it, I really do get it, but for me, it's what won me over. Like, when I first heard it, I was like, oh, that's different, very much out of character, not what I've used to, not what I was expecting. But then every song, I mean, my favourite song on here is easily Procession of Misery, because that is, I've said to my wife that I would love to have that as my funeral song. She just kind of laughed at me and went, you're an idiot, and walked off. But I genuinely meant it. Like, that is what a funeral sounds like to me. When you listen to that song, it sounds like a funeral. It's perfect. I mean, Too Young to Die was really good, My Own Grave. But then there's 2 songs on there, Three Dead Men, and I think it's These Rusty Nails. Has a different vocalist on it, or I don't know who the vocalist is on those tracks. I haven't actually looked it up, but they sound very different. It's got because Funeral are known for having weird vocal styles, like weird vocal effects on some of their albums, and it has that element to it with obviously the clean operatic stuff. But yeah, I won't ramble on anymore. Go give it a razz. It's a fucking great album, personally to me, as all these albums are, but that is the one I've listened to the most this year, Funeral, Gospel of Bones. Now, I applaud anyone that's got to the end of this video, because I know it's nearly 40 minutes long, so I cheers to you. This year has been really challenging mentally for me and my mental health. I won't pretend I've been alright, because I haven't been some days, so it's okay to talk about it. I'm not shy about it. I'm not being dramatic about it either. You know, it's just one of those things. When you get older as a bloke, I've noticed things like that have become apparent with quite a lot of people, especially in my social circle of friends as well. I'm not the only one. Family life is brilliant. I can't moan about anything like that. I've got a new dog recently. We've got 2 Labradors now, which is insane. I never thought that would be a thing as well. Like, I've gone to tons of gigs. I've played the most gigs for Consecration we've done in years this year. Played at Asphyx, played in different cities we've never been to before. I went to Glasgow at the start of this year. I'm going to Glasgow in January on my own to hang out with some awesome people on YouTube, which I'm really, really looking forward to doing. Never done that on my own before. And yeah, it's just fucking, getting older is weird. So if you have watched this video to the end and you've watched my YouTube channel this year and liked videos, commented, all that jazz, I genuinely really do appreciate it, because I don't put much effort into this these days. But when I read the comments and people enjoy the content, it actually just says, okay, I'll do another one, you know. It's that nice little pat on the back to say, yeah, you're doing all right, keep going, you're all right. I don't do it for numbers or anything like that. I couldn't give a fuck about that. It is purely just talking about music, because I can't talk about this outside of these walls in my social circles. Like on the school run, I'm the only dad that looks like I'm going to kill people. You know, I'm totally different to everybody, and I love it. You know, I get on with everybody, and I'm a proper lad, and I go drinking and everything like that. But musically, I am an alien to everyone, and I love it. So, in the meantime, I hope you have a great new year. I appreciate you all immensely. Here's to 2025. Cheers.